Hello teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. So initially I was going to come online and talk about the live that Foodie did the other day. Is it the other day? I don't know with timelines. Right now I've got her spicy crispy chicken sandwiches and fries mukbang, which was really just her addressing the live she did the other day. So I figured if I covered the mukbang, it would be an easier way to discuss some of the things she said in the live. Because she was addressing it, but it would be faster than trying to cut down the hour-and-a-half live. So that's what we're going to be doing today. She came on live middle of the night, wee hours of the morning, very subdued, very upset, almost crying, said she was going to be in tears, wanted to fly back to Canada sometime next week. And the thing was, a lot of the things that she was finding hard to deal with were actually not invalid. They were part of the conversation that we had when she first moved there. And I was talking a little bit about how the fun of the newness of a place wears off when you're an expat, when you go through like that honeymoon period. It wears off. And eventually she's going to realize that the problem is still her, which seemed to be a moment she was having. I'm going to say last night because that's what it was my time, where a lot of the things we'd had in the discussion, talking about all the problems that were actually internal, not external, and the fact that she would end up taking them with her because she didn't actually want to work on them, all sort of came bubbling to the front. Now, ultimately, I don't think the talking point has changed in terms of the issue at the moment being coping mechanisms, which is a conversation we've long had with Foodie as we've seen her showcase different equally terrible coping mechanisms for things she doesn't actually want to address. But one of the big things I thought would really make an impact when she first arrived was the fact that she was cutting off so many of her coping mechanisms cold turkey. We know how reliant on weed she was particularly, that I thought that was going to cause a lot of problems. And it seems like this has been brewing for a while, so it probably has been, and she hasn't been talking about it as much. But that seems to be what came to the front, and therefore it's not a surprise to me that what seems to have triggered it, although it's been kind of simmering for a while, I would assume, is that Salah was asleep, which meant that Foodie couldn't order food because Salah does it through his bank account because Foodie's status means that she can't get a bank account in Kuwait. And she was mowing through these juice boxes, and then she was getting like mortadella sandwiches, and she was melting cheese. And she said something about having, I don't think she actually meant drank the dressing, but gone through the bottles of dressing. It really seemed like she was just hoovering through whatever food she could find because she wanted to order food and she couldn't get it. And that was really triggering an emotional response in her because it's the only coping mechanism she has left. And had she been living in the villa in Canada the way she was, she could have gotten in the car and gone and found something that was open. She could have ordered from whatever place was 24 hours. There would have been options. They would have been limited, but there would have been options when in the middle of the night she can't sleep and she needs something to stop her thoughts, which is where she really was. Now, she talked a lot about freedoms in that video and not feeling like she could just, relax and be herself. And she didn't say it exactly like this. I don't remember. But essentially, there were times, sometimes extended times, in the villa in Canada where she would just slob around and not do anything, and her circumstances and environment would just deteriorate. But she didn't have to answer to anybody. She didn't have to fake it for anybody, as I imagine she tries to fake it for Salah. Like, she had the complete freedom to be alone. And it's not exactly funny, but it's interesting that that's what she was running away from in some ways. Obviously, we also had the tax, the drugs, all the things. But I really do think, perhaps especially while she was with Nada, because Nada was not the Prince Charming she wanted him to be. He certainly wasn't what she was trying to present him as when before she got angry. I think she really started to get overwhelmed by that loneliness in many ways, because there's nothing like something going wrong to make you realize how little you have. And she thought that getting out of Canada would be a good way to cut all that off. And in some ways, like I said, she had a lot of very unhealthy coping mechanisms, and now she only has access to one. But I don't think Salah has turned out to be the answer she was looking for. And I think she knows as much as anyone else that the answer is looking internally, which is not something she excels at. But now she's eating fast food. Now she's gotten the only fix she's capable of getting in Kuwait. She's a little bit happier. She's more willing to excuse what she was talking about last night. And I don't even think she needs to excuse it. Like, there are things in it that were valid as somebody who's been away from her family for a long time, as someone who's been away from familiar comforts for a long time. But that's not what she wants to present to us, so here we are. And I would imagine she had to explain a few things to Salah this morning, or whatever time they ended up getting up. So anyway, let's take a look at the mukbang and we will get into it as she goes.
Hi guys, hi. Assalamu alaikum. How is everybody? So, I would like to talk about, I don't feel like it because I just don't.
Because she doesn't really want to answer for everything she said last night, but there we go.
I'm tired.
No wonder.
I'm just sleepy, that's all.
You're tired of having to backtrack the things you say online, I would imagine, but you were also up at 4 a.m. doing it, so...
I have chickpea burgers, and all they had to drink was like Coke or Sprite, so not much choice there.
If you remember, she did say we should be boycotting these companies, but you know, if there's no choice, like, you can't not have it, right?
I have fries, but there's like a random waffle fry.
Oh, bonus.
In my fries, so bismillah.
Oh, it doesn't sound very crunchy. I hate that we're close enough that you can tell. That all looks a little bit soggy and like it's probably cold.
Cheese, mayo, lettuce, and pickles. I 1,000,000% did not feel like cooking. I'm just like energyless.
From what? What is it you do all day? I mean, I suppose in a way that's the problem, because the less you do, the less you want to do. And so doing what little she's shown us on camera is quite exhausting. And it's interesting to me that that kind of goes into... Foodie has always seen domesticity, is that the word I'm looking for? Domestic life, I think I said it right, as a trap. And that was part of the reason why she ended up getting out of things with BB, that, and we suspect talk about not being able to have kids and things like that. But she got bored because she doesn't really want a quiet domestic life, which makes it a little funny that she's now come here and done this. But when she was cooking for the channel, that was the closest thing she's had to that kind of routine, because even when she has been kind of keeping house, she's still eaten out most of the time. So when she talks about, oh, I don't want to do this, and oh, this is exhausting, and oh, what do I do for dinner, and the boredom of that routine, she's done it for literally 4 videos.
I did a live stream.
Yes, you did.
Talking about my feelings, opening up a bit, which I haven't done in a while.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's true. You haven't meant to do in a while.
Today I'm feeling...
Today she is literally eating the things she wanted to eat, so that part of her brain, it's got what it wanted.
I think I was having a bout of homesickness.
I think it's entirely possible that she was, but not necessarily for family, as it were, because as she talked about, quite frankly for her, is she misses the weed and she misses the other things she can escape into. She misses being able to go out. She misses being able to get in the car at 4 a.m. and find whatever fix she wants.
Which does happen sometimes. I just never really talk about it.
You know, if she would talk about it, her channel would seem a margin more authentic. Then, like, she always wants or professes to want authenticity and to be her real self. And then she gets a little too real and people think she's horrible, because, she presents herself a certain way, put it that way. But as somebody who has lived through moving countries many times, if she had actually been real and raw, you guys, oh fuck, then she had a chance of actually being more relatable, because I would expect those doubts, I would expect those low moments to come up, knowing what I know of the process.
When it comes down to everything, like when I consider everything, the situation, yes, I'm from Canada, born and raised there, and I know a lot of people from there. My audience is from Canada, US, Europe, the Western world, Australia, and a lot of you can't fathom how I could be happy here.
It's not that I can't fathom it. I'm perfectly happy in my life and I'm here. I'm living a different kind of life than she is, but I'm happy here. But I'm also not coming online at 4 a.m. crying over the internet saying how hard it is and how I want to run away home and how I miss all the things I can't do there. I'm not showcasing a life where I seem really limited within my space and not being able to do very much. I'm not getting angry online very frequently with people. Last night's live stream is not the reason that people think Foodie isn't a happy person. That just happens to be an example of a time she's admitted it.
And I explained some things that I missed, certain freedoms.
The way she explained her freedoms is basically doing what she wanted. She didn't like the word shouldn't. She was talking about how people say she shouldn't smoke, how people say she shouldn't do things. Sorry, claw there. At the same time, she knows the horrible impact it has on her body or her mind, depending on what the issue is. But in some ways, it was an interesting stream because she doesn't always have, or if she has them, she doesn't always listen to these moments when she is self-aware. And if she were a less horrible person, I would be a little bit more sympathetic, as I have been in the past, to the fact that she really does seem a victim of her own cycles in a lot of ways. Is as much as we discuss how she cycles and we can predict her behaviors, she is trapped in that. She knows enough to recognize when she's spiraling, but she's defiant enough to start kicking off and screaming and tantruming when it gets pointed out. And it's all to her detriment in the end, because all of the problems she has are problems only she can solve. And when I used to talk about her cutting off her nose to spite her face, she won't solve them just because people said she should. And even when we've seen her absolutely terrified for her own health, the big change that she tries to do only lasts a day, because she just has no concept of what it is to be consistent. And what all of these things need is consistency.
I miss my family. But overall, for me, home is where my heart is. My heart is with Salah.
This is an incredibly mean thing to say, and I apologize for it in advance, because obviously I don't live in Foodie's head. I think she is too self-centered to truly love anybody. And I think if Salah were to come out of the other room right now and say, baby, I don't think we should do this, and I am deleting this app off my phone. So she has to go through him to do it. He'll never do this, but I think if he did that, she would be back in Canada on the next flight. I think she'd try it for like a day, and then massive tantrums. We'd have crying drags like last night. She'd be in Canada immediately, because it would take away her one last big escape. And even if Salah were to come out and say, no, I'm doing this because I love you, if they were having an honest heart-to-heart discussion where he was like, I love you, I care for you, I want to protect your health, and for the money, for the good of our future relationship, I don't think we should be putting money into this, it's going to be better for both of us, let's do it together. She'd last a day.
I love him a lot. He loves me.
That may or may not be true. We can speculate based on what we see, but we're not inside either of their heads. However, I don't think she will ever love another living thing, human, animal, anything, more than she prioritizes her own comfort.
I'm being sincere that I'm not miserable here, you know. I'm the type of person that if I was, I would just go back, like, you know, easily.
Here's the thing with that. I think it would be more accurate to say she is not more miserable where she is than she was in Canada. Yeah, does that make sense? So if Kuwait were making her miserable, I think she would go back. Because like I said, I've just said that I think she values her own happiness above anything else. But I think she recognizes enough that her problems are internal, that on the scale of things, Kuwait makes a better deal for her, for all the reasons she's going to discuss.
Well, not easily, but easy enough.
Could she though? Would she be able to book her own flight? Let's say it goes either way and Salah goes, no, I'm not booking it for you. If they're using his bank account, which they do seem to be doing, Foodie has said that before that she's transferred money over. Yeah, and she gets paid in her Canadian account, so she must do that. But there is a difference between being able to transfer money and then being able to use her bank account internationally. Because I do think, I'm saying this now, I'm doubting myself, she was with some kind of credit union local bank thing, probably because of her credit history and her bankruptcy status. And sometimes those kind of cards have limits on. We've only ever seen her use cash in Kuwait, like when she was paying for that petrol when she shouldn't have been driving, which we'll talk about in a minute. And other than that, she showcased Salah paying for them. So the source of the money being her, I can completely believe, but is she able to just use her card online and pay for a flight? Maybe she could. Or maybe if she's transferring money over, she'd have to get Salah to do it, because she does say, I think in this, but definitely in the other one, that Salah has said, look, I'll book you a flight if you want one. So it seems like all of the finance stuff would be going through him.
I know he's always said, if you ever really need to go back and see your family, I'll book you a flight.
Oh, I should have waited, it was right there. So could she book her own flight is what I'm asking. I'm not saying that he would refuse to do it, but I'm saying it's different not having the option.
And I know people think, oh, well, he can't do that. He can't financially support you. I don't know why people think that. That's just your prejudice.
No, it's not. We know that he supported himself before, so we don't know exactly what's going on with the perfumery, but clearly you've both got money from somewhere. Foodie gets it from YouTube, but we can argue she doesn't get so much. And she has said that they both contribute. So however it's working with the perfumery in terms of his percentage of the business or how much money he gets from it, clearly something is happening with it. I'm assuming she's saying prejudice the way she likes to say Islamophobia, in the, oh, just because he's Syrian he can't provide for me or what have you. She has used finance as, in a lot of ways, her only power in relationships many times before. She's not brand new. She knows why people are doubting. But let's say he could. I'm not going to say he can't. I think she's not making as much money as she did and they're still living okay. So clearly money's coming from somewhere. But I think my question would be them agreeing on it before it would be where would the money come from.
I have that knowledge and security that I can go. It's not that I'm stuck here, you know?
I mean, if you say so, I would not be that secure in your situation, but she knows it better than I do.
I do. Like, I was assessing my situation because sometimes I'm very conflicted with what I really want.
She just wants to be, and it's harder in Kuwait.
I doubt myself. I have insecurities that I talked about in my live stream.
She said she felt old, fat, and barren, which I think the barren thing is the one that's really getting her, because She is older than him, and I don't know what's gone on. I feel like there's been an argument somewhere, because generally, do you remember when she used to argue with Nada before all the information came out, and then she'd come on and have emotions because it was her way of communicating with him? Like when she would do the live streams that weren't for us, they were for him, and we just happened to be there. So I think at least part of the last live stream was so Salah would see it, but I also think that she said something she maybe didn't mean to be answerable for.
And even now, I don't even really know what I'm talking about. But basically, when I weigh everything, and that's why I'm tired, I stay awake thinking about these things.
It's really not a good sign. Like, her not being able to sleep for various reasons is one of the excuses she gave for how much weed she took, where it used to just knock her out and numb her out. And if she's getting back to a place where she feels the need for that again, I think we're just going to see her spiral again and again.
When I weigh everything, sorry, needed mayonnaise. Oh, I have a bobo. Thought I would let you know
What?
that.
Madam, you have a what? Do you mean a boo-boo? And why are you calling it a boo-boo at 39 years old? The hell?
Whenever I consider everything,
The classic boo-boo the clown.
I am happier overall here than I was in Canada. And it's so strange for me to hear people say, you were happier in Canada.
Again, I think Foodie is generally quite miserable, and I know there are people who would say the same about me because all they ever see me do is react. I think internally she's got a lot going on and it doesn't make her happy. I don't necessarily think she was more miserable in Canada. I think she was going through quite a lot with Nada. Yes, some of it was self-inflicted and she certainly didn't make the situation better. I don't necessarily think she's happier in Kuwait because she's still herself. I do think she's scared to go back to Canada because she knows everything is so much more available there, and she would absolutely not stop herself from indulging.
Which makes me realize, like, people really don't know how I was feeling internally. You know, and maybe I didn't express that.
She expressed a lot of things a lot of time, and if anything, I would say we know her too well, not too little.
I'm not feeling the greatest because I'm not, you know, doing much to improve my situation health-wise.
That is very true, as you shove your second chicken burger into your face. Yes, that is true. And that is also part of the discussion from when she was in Canada. She says she has depression, and I totally believe she does, but I think she doesn't give enough credit for how situational her depression is, because she was really happy when she first got to Kuwait because she had changed her situation. And then as the realization comes, the longer she's here, that her situation is exactly the same, and that forces her to look at the reasons why, which she is not comfortable with. Now the depression is back.
And that you can't escape from.
Well, you can't escape yourself. You can escape your situations. You can, not escape, you can change your situations. It requires work, it's generally unpleasant, and it requires a consistency you've never been able to show. But Chantal can absolutely change her situation. She doesn't want to put the work in, it's different.
But people don't seem to remember how people think I'm more unhealthy and eat more here. That's not true.
I think she eats the same. I think she's unhealthy in different ways. Well, different.
My highest weight was in Canada.
Okay, so this is true as far as we know. I don't think she's honest about her weight now, but that's not really the point. The highest known weight we have for her that she has claimed has been just over 400, right? Here's the thing with health though. Foodie is 39, so she's just on the cusp of turning 40. There's less than a year between us, but I'm older than she is. And I can tell you now, it makes a difference. So even if her weight hadn't changed, let's take that number out of the equation for the moment. One thing we have noticed is that the way her body has been shaped, the way she's been moving around, how much harder everything is physically and how much more effort it seems to take. Now, probably she has gained weight and she just isn't saying anything, and I'm certain that's what people will say down below in the comments. But even if she hasn't gained weight, even if she is sitting at 370 and has been for years now, she's getting older, and it makes a difference because the impact on your body and the effect it has on your body just becomes more emphasized the older you get. And your late 30s are the moment when that tipping point occurs.
I was 402 pounds at the hospital. My blood sugar was 17. It's now like 6.
I would want her to go and get that blood sugar tested again, because I would have doubts with the way she's been living that it's necessarily 6 anymore. Again, not really the point. And when it comes down to it, 370 versus 400 is still going to be incredibly taxing on your body. So if she's saying 370 and that is what she's sticking with, whether you believe it or not isn't really the point. The point is it's still a lot to deal with.
Maybe 370. It's been averaging out. I was in the ER all the time. Blood clots. I wasn't healthier.
You ignored it less though. You went to the ER, you had blood clots. But she's been in the clinic a couple of times, and she did that one in Thailand. The fact that she's not getting as much medical attention doesn't mean she doesn't have health problems. It means she's just burying her head in the sand a bit more. How long has she been smoking that shisha? And when she was smoking the cigarette last night, she was talking about how she's pretty sure her blood pressure is high now, and you know she's still got a headache, but she's still smoking. She just doesn't care about herself. But if you don't get diagnosed, then it doesn't exist, right? I can't remember if it was this live stream. She's about to say it, then sorry. Or if it was, in this video, or if it was the live stream, but she mentioned she wasn't medicated at the moment. So I'm guessing that means the depression medication. It could mean the puffers, although I didn't think she could go without those. And it would be a stupid thing to go without considering she still smokes. But if she hasn't got her medication for depression and stuff, then no wonder she's all over the place. We saw that happen in Thailand as well.
I miss driving, but that I can deal with.
She misses being able to get, drive through.
I have a chauffeur.
But again, that is part of the reason she's getting frustrated, because even if he says yes, it's an additional step between wanting something and obtaining something. If you have to then go to Salah and say, hey, can we go and get this? It's an extra step. Oh, interesting about the driving though, during the live, she was like, oh, I don't know what I would have to do to drive here legally. Now, bear in mind, she was behind the wheel. If she's got a residency permit, she has to wait 2 years before she can get a driving license, because once you've got the permit, you have to get a Kuwaiti license. You can't be on the international one. So the choices were either Foodie is on the tourist visa, which I've always said I think she is, and she was driving legally because she had an international permit, which she's also kind of shot herself in the foot about, because if she's got no idea what she needs, then she might not even have the permit. She might just have her own Canadian license. Or she was driving illegally, which, I don't know, at this point, if she has no idea what the legalities are, probably illegally is the answer.
Most of the time, I isolate myself with my mental illness. And a lot of the time, I don't want to go anywhere. We're not getting a divorce.
I think you'd have to be married to get a divorce, but I think they had an argument of some kind, or they didn't argue, but not being able to do exactly what she wanted the moment she wanted it, late at night where all her thoughts were overcrowding her, just came to the front.
I was just thinking of going back to Canada temporarily for a visit to get rid of that homesickness feeling, but I really think I would be more homesick for here if I went there.
I don't think she would be. I think if she could get the things she wanted being weed and unlimited fast food, I think she'd manage.
The more I'm here, the more this starts to feel like home. And again, when I was in Thailand, I felt at home because I was with Salah, you know?
That you felt at home because your life consists of four walls and whatever takeout you can get. Which means if you can have the four walls and you can get delivery, home is home.
Like completely moving to another country, you know, it's kind of a big culture shock sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair. But also part of getting over that is creating your own community and integrating yourself into that life. Chantal's just got four different walls and slightly different delivery food.
But that over time has gotten pretty, it's become pretty normal. But I mean, yeah, of course, sometimes I miss some of the comforts I had in Canada, but a lot of those things were not healthy for me, you know?
Do you think the fast food is? I mean, I suppose in the scheme of things, of the drugs or the fast food, you go with the fast food, but Foodie doesn't use any of her indulgences well because she doesn't have a sense of scale with anything.
I should be able to function normally and happily without being high. Like,
The key word there being should be. And if you can't, you should be able to talk to a therapist about that or to engage with a professional that can put you on the track to help you.
and addiction is a very big for me. And I think a part of me doesn't want to go back to Canada for that reason. I don't want to fall back into addictions that I don't have access to here.
Which is actually a valid concern because she's not going to do anything to stop herself falling into those things. But here she abuses food, there she abuses drugs. It's bizarre to me that losing 70 pounds while on cocaine is probably the healthiest we've seen her. You know, like she uses nothing well because it's always using.
You know, drugs, alcohol.
I will, oh, this is actually a horrible thing. Sorry in advance. I will say she's got a much higher chance of only killing herself with this being in Kuwait than she does with Canada because she doesn't drive in Kuwait. Whereas when she used to drink, when she used to be on the weed, when she used to do drugs, she did drive. And you cannot tell me she was sober 100% of the time. You simply can't.
Ordering 3-4 times a day. I don't know, like just whenever I want, you know, just being very frivolous and not good with money. I just don't trust myself right now.
Which, again, that's one of the more sensible things she says here. Recognizing herself as not trustworthy in those situations. You have to recognize your own triggers. If she knows it's going to be available, don't make it available. It's not, I was going to say it's not an insensible choice. It's not a silly choice, but the choice has consequences. And if you're going to commit to a life there, stop coming on live in the middle of the night and crying over the fact that you've lost your ability to get high.
And believe it or not, Salah really, he's very active in trying to make a really good future for us as well. So I'm learning a lot from him that way, having to be more frugal because we're not rich, but we're not poor. We're not, you know, we're doing well.
I think they are actually doing fine. Like, in the scheme of, she orders out quite a lot, it makes her as close to happy as she gets. They can keep a roof over their head and their bills paid. She does all right. They do all right. There are a lot of people in much harder situations than she is in. But I don't think that she's learning from this necessarily because she is not in control of what they can and cannot spend. And that's part of why last night happened. Because Salah is controlling that right now. Probably for the best, but Salah is controlling that right now. He's doing the finances, which is stopping her from going too crazy with everything. You remember when she talked about ordering makeup? And then when Salah went through and said, do you need, like, she had to show him the basket because he orders things. And so he was like, do you need the $30 mascara or can you use this cheaper one? And she was like, oh, look, it was such a great thing. But I can't see that settling well with her. And I think that's part of what we saw. We saw the limits of that where she's going to get so sick of that.
But we're not rich. And, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful for everything I have. I know people were like, your channel will do so much better in Canada. Well, I'm not gonna do anything like that just for money, you know.
Hey, remember when she used to say, if you send us $20, I'll make out with Pete? She knows what it's like to be begging for money online. I cry for food and shelter. You remember that?
That's just so inauthentic, and just money is just not a good reason to do things that you have in your heart that you want to do, you know?
What?
Or
No, I don't.
to not do them because of money.
Oh, that makes more sense. Okay. Although, talking about authenticity, no, her e-begging was her being authentic. Her being high on camera and angry, that's her being authentic. Her being an awful person doesn't mean she's not being authentic. Because I think her in the live stream, as much as she was playing Please Come Pity Me, the words behind it were what she was feeling. I don't think this is authentic.
My heart is with Salah. We're very much in love, and
She keeps saying that, and again, I think it's because she's waiting for him to watch, because I think they must have had a discussion about her last live stream. They must have.
married despite what people think. I mean, I don't know where people believe all these weird theories that people come up with about us when there's zero proof, you know?
There's no proof in the paperwork. We have timelines. We have you leaving the country right on schedule for a tourist visa. We have her talking in the last live stream about how she used to leave the country, every 3 months? This has been the longest, blah, blah, blah. We have you not knowing how the driving works, therefore having not gotten your Kuwaiti driving license. We have you not using any kind of bank account in the country. We have you admitting that Salah got you your phone number, because without a bank account, without a residence card, you can't get your own phone contract. I mean, you can get this thing at the airport that will keep going on your passport for a while. We may not have your marriage certificate because that's private, but we have plenty to support that speculation.
But none of it's true. And
okay, sure, prove it.
We love each other, and I hopefully can spend the rest of my life with him, and I just think the Middle East is the best right now for me. Like,
I don't disagree with that. I think if she went back to Canada, she'd fall face first into a pile of edibles, and that would be it for the year. She'd just be gone. At least she recognizes that she has absolutely no self-control.
To recover from addiction, to recover financially.
Are you recovering though if you're just removing... that's not fair. I was going to say if you're just removing yourself from the situation. I suppose in a way, yes, because it's like going to rehab, I would suppose. Like they're taking you out of there. But you've still got to learn to deal with it when you get back, because she's not going to stay in Kuwait forever. Like something will catch up with her eventually.
No matter where I am, I can have access to certain things. The healthcare is pretty good here. It's actually really good. Like anytime I've used it, it's been very decent, and it's very affordable.
She were paying the, is it a supplement? I don't know what you would call it. Expats have to pay a certain amount to access the systems in Kuwait if they are residents. But Foodie just goes for the for-pay clinics because she doesn't have that status, I'm assuming.
It's very affordable for expats. That's that. I don't know what else to say. Maybe I'll be able to better articulate it when I'm less tired.
I doubt it. Articulation is not your strength.
I was up all night until about noon, and I just felt gross and tired and just tired of thinking.
You know when she was 5 a.m. mayo corn? I don't think for a second she had actually been to bed. I think this is her routine.
You know? And I saw my cat coming beside me and cuddling up to me, and then Salah watching him sleep, and I was like...
Wait, what? You were watching him sleep at noon? What kind of schedule are you two on? Because I was under the impression that she was up all night, which she does frequently, but he was sleeping because she was doing this while he was sleeping. So why was he still in bed at noon?
I can't leave my family, even for a bit. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes being very, very far from your homeland is weird too,
Yeah, I do know,
So I
as
just
it
have these
happens.
mixed feeling moments. And I think they're normal. I think it's normal for anyone to go through that in my situation. And a lot of you have left comments that you've been in that situation or it's normal, and
It can be. You can definitely have moments where you just want things to be more familiar and you want to go home. Because I have a better tolerance of this than most because I've done it so much. I've been working abroad my entire adult life, right? But even I have minutes where I'm like, this is my place, I'm in my apartment, but England is home, right? And so even I have that, and I am more used to this process, but I'm not coming online in the middle of the night and crying about it. That's the difference. She knows what she's presenting. And I'm guessing if I went and looked at the views right now, that got more views than her recent videos have been getting.
you understand. A lot of people were saying it's obvious you're not happy. I don't know how it's obvious.
You were crying online in the middle of the night. I'm sorry, were those happy tears? They didn't seem to be. You said you were very upset.
I mean, if you compare my time in Canada, I was crying all the time. Here, I've maybe cried once, you know.
And that's the only way to show that you're not fulfilled or you're not happy. We have seen your entire personality. You're no happier there than you were in Canada. I don't think you're necessarily more miserable, but I don't think anything has changed.
Can't be happy all the time anywhere in the world, you know. But if you look at quality of life, yeah, I would say it's better here for sure.
I think you're more aware of your life because you're less strung out on weed and coke and whatever else you and alcohol. But I think you're equally miserable. There are just different reasons you're aware of now.
I'm not shut in all the time. I can go out whenever I want. I just have to ask Allah.
To drive the, I'm guessing, car is, oh, to drive me. Sorry, I've got a little record thing in the corner. Yeah, so when you say you can go out anytime you want, as long as he says yes.
I choose to isolate sometimes because my mental health is not good. And
I'm sure that'll
look
make it
up,
better.
Symptoms of depression, mental illness, that's normal. But we do go out. I just don't always film because it's... Sometimes you just want to do things without worrying about what to film, what angle,
Whether the filter's gonna hold up. But actually, although I'm making fun of her a little bit here, I do understand if she had any respect for any other person, she wouldn't want to film them because it's difficult to try and keep people neutral in the background, and being on film is a much more sensitive issue here, so you just want to be a little bit more respectful. It hasn't stopped her in the past. When she was in the restaurant and women were actively trying to cover their face, she still recorded, but she doesn't feel like it anyway, and if that's something she has learned, then great.
All those kind of things. So, and depending if you go somewhere busy, I haven't been feeling it. But I will get back to it because I do like doing vlogs.
So she hasn't learned anything.
Sometimes I just don't feel it, especially lately. It's also hard to talk about a lot of my feelings surrounding things in my life I can't talk to you about. Not bad things, just personal life things that I want to keep secret, and I think that's actually very beneficial.
The way she says keep secret, though, you can have a personal life and you can have a professional life. Professional life for her would be YouTube. But the way she is so cagey about it just confirms that she has things to hide more than anything. There are so many YouTubers out there that do keep that line and it doesn't devolve into this. So why does it do that with Foodie? And it's because she's evasive. It's not that she can't have a private life, it's that she's incredibly evasive in how she presents things.
For me, I've said that a million of times, But I want to thank everyone for being there and listening to me. It just made me realize, with the amount of people, there's a lot of people that were there just, for drama and, already trying to, skew what I'm saying and make assumptions about how I'm feeling.
Well, yeah, because you came online at 3 or 4 a.m. crying about how you didn't want to be there and you missed weed. We might interpret it in certain ways, but we have the base source to do it with.
And there's a lot of people that were there for support and love, and that means a lot to me. Like, I think people think, well, you shouldn't be talking on the internet. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, talking to people who care about you.
No, there's nothing wrong with talking to people who care about you. I wouldn't say your audience are people who care about you, not the audience that you have cultivated. I would recommend having real life relationships support you instead, for sure. Like, there's nothing wrong talking to people if you want to, even doing it online, but don't then be shocked that people talk about it.
You know, like, whatever. So, I guess that's about it. That's how I'm feeling. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be just staying put. And
I think this little episode of hers is going to mean she gets to have fast food without complaint for a week.
doing something else, I don't know. Canada for the holidays. I don't celebrate Christmas anymore, and I hate the snow and the winter, so I don't know.
Bear in mind, she was talking about homesickness and how she wanted to see family. The point of going home for Christmas would be the family gatherings, but it's more important that she do the things that make her comfortable, so she doesn't want to go during the winter.
We'll have to see. Anyways,
I will say though, it will be more expensive to go over Christmas. Oh my god, it gets so expensive. She said something in the other live, something about Umrah, which is it's like pilgrimage. It's pilgrimage season, and you can go. And she was saying about how she was going to have to choose between going to Canada or going with Salah on that. I'm not sure she could physically manage that, to be completely honest. But again, we say we'll see. Maybe that's been a point of contention.
you guys will find out eventually what I end up doing, where I end up going, if anywhere.
Yes, we will.
But we're not getting a divorce. We're not splitting up. And that's for sure. That was never a case.
It's for sure for now, because no one can be sure of their relationship for the rest of their lives. And Foodie is apparently not medicated and is capricious, so I imagine this will be a conversation again.
You know, I don't know how people confuse just having a bit of homesickness and my insecurities in the relationship to us getting a divorce.
Guys, I'm sorry, I'm upset. I might cry. Hi, everybody. I might cry. No, Salah doesn't understand me, and he's normal, and I'm old and fat and barren, and I might go back to Canada next week. How do you guys misunderstand that as we might break up?
But I guess people have wishful thinking. I don't know why
That
people
must have
would
been
wish
it.
that.
My God, it's almost like you might have said something.
For their own entertainment.
Yeah,
It's
clearly that
kind
was
of odd.
it. Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. You just pull this out of thin air. I've never done anything to cause that speculation.
But it is what it is, I guess.
I guess.
Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye. Okay, and there we have it. It's all in our heads. How dare we? It's all our fault. We're so odd. We're so obsessed. We're always thinking she's getting divorced. And why would we confuse what she did in the live stream with her wanting to go home? How dare you? Anyway, guys, thank you for being here. This is run on. I've got a lot to cut out, but it's probably going to be a long video, so I'm going to get out of here, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.